close your eyes. Take a slow breath. Now, let your thoughts drift far back, beyond cities, beyond history, beyond even the first humans. The Earth turns quietly under the stars, as it has for billions of years. But what if there was something here before us? Something intelligent, something that lived, learned, and disappeared long before humans ever opened their eyes. Tonight, we go back to that forgotten dawn, a time when the world was younger, calmer, full of secrets buried deep under oceans and stone. Every mountain, every breeze, every quiet wave might still carry traces of a civilization that no one remembers. They didn't build skyscrapers or machines. They built peace with the planet. Their homes breathed with the wind. Their technology was part of nature, not apart from it. Then, one day, they were gone. In a ward, no destruction, only silence, and the earth, in her slow wisdom, covered their memory. Now, only hints remain. A chemical trace here, a strange layer of stone there, whispers in the planet's deep heart. As you listen tonight, let yourself drift into that mystery. Let your mind rest on the thought that before humans, the Earth may have already known intelligence. Not human intelligence, but something older, gentler, wiser. You are safe. You are part of this same living world. So breathe slowly and listen. The story of the first civilization is not gone. It is only sleeping, waiting for you to remember. Close your eyes for a moment. Let your mind drift back, far beyond history, beyond memory, beyond even the first humans. Think of Earth, quiet and vast, wrapped in the soft glow of an ancient sun. The air was thick. The oceans were wide and restless. Continents drifted like slow-moving dreams. There were no cities, no languages, no footprints in the sand. Yet, deep in the heartbeat of the planet, something might have stirred. Scientists say human civilization began around 10,000 years ago. But Earth is 4.5 billion years old. That means our story, the story of people, takes up only a tiny fraction of time. What happened before? Could something intelligent have walked, swam, or flown across the surface long before we appeared? When you think about the size of that timeline, it feels impossible that nothing ever tried before us. For hundreds of millions of years, life filled every corner of this planet. From single cells to giant reptiles, from strange ocean dwellers to creatures that soared through the sky. Each age had its rulers. Each age had its thinkers in their own way. Maybe, somewhere between those ages, something greater rose, something smart, social, and capable of shaping the world around it. If such a civilization existed, where did it go? How did it vanish so completely? Earth is a master of renewal. Every few million years, oceans swallow land. Volcanoes rise, ash covers continents, mountains crumble into dust. Over time, the planet wipes its own surface clean. Even if an ancient species had built cities of stone or metal, the slow forces of erosion and plate movement would have buried their remains deep beneath the crust. Think of how fragile our own world is. If humans disappeared tonight, how long would our works last? In 100 years, forests would reclaim our streets. In 10,000, steel bridges would rust away. In 1,000,000 years, almost everything would vanish. Only faint traces, chemical, geological, perhaps a few fossilized shapes, would survive. Now stretch that thought to 60 million years or more. Everything would be gone. Every mark erased. So, if an ancient civilization existed before us, we would not see their monuments. We would see whispers in stone, maybe a strange layer of sediment, maybe an unusual mix of minerals, maybe a hint of rapid climate change that has no clear natural cause. These would be the only echoes of their presence. This is what scientists call the Silurian hypothesis. The name comes from the Silurian period, a time about 400 million years ago, when early fish swam in warm seas. The hypothesis asks a simple question. If an advanced civilization once lived on Earth long before humans, would we even know? To answer that, you have to think like time itself. You have to see the world not in years, but in cycles. Ice ages come and go. Continents split and merge. Oceans appear and disappear. Every few 100 million years, almost the entire surface of the Earth is renewed. Rocks melt, crust shifts, fossils vanish. Only the deepest sediments and the oldest crystals hold the memory of what came before. If you could travel back through time, You might see great forests where deserts now lie. You might see oceans where cities stand. And maybe, hidden in those ancient landscapes, you would find signs of something that once tried to rise, to think, to build. There are moments in Earth's history that seem to hint at sudden change. Periods when the planet warmed too fast, when species disappeared in massive numbers, when chemical patterns in rocks shift in ways that seem unnatural. The Paleocene thermal maximum, about 56 million years ago, is one of them. During that time, temperatures rose sharply. Carbon levels spiked. Oceans became acidic. It feels familiar, almost like the world humans are creating now. But back then, there were no humans, no machines, no factories. So what caused it? Volcanoes? Methane from the seafloor? Or something else, something long forgotten, buried beyond reach? If there was an ancient civilization, its story would be written not in buildings, but in chemistry. The balance of carbon in the air, the traces of metals in the soil, the sudden changes in isotopes that show the fingerprint of industrial activity. Scientists today look for these clues, testing old rocks for signs of synthetic materials or unnatural patterns. So far, they have found none that prove intelligence. But the question itself keeps returning, gentle and patient, like the waves of time. The thought that another civilization once lived here feels strange. Yet, in a way, it makes sense. The universe does not waste chances. Life adapts, grows, and experiments. If intelligence arose once, it could arise again. And maybe it already did, long before us. Imagine standing on the shore of an ancient sea 60 million years ago. The sky is warm gold. The wind moves slowly through the trees. Somewhere nearby, a being looks up at that same sky and wonders. It watches the sunset, the same way you do now. It feels the pull of thought, the spark of awareness. It does not know that one day, everything it builds will sink beneath the ground. It only knows the present moment, the same way you do tonight. When you think of time like this, your worries feel small. Civilizations rise and fade, but Earth keeps breathing. Every age has its dawn. Every dawn fades into another. The memory of the first civilization, human or not, may rest deep within the planet's heart. Maybe it sleeps there still, beneath layers of stone, waiting to be found, or to be forgotten forever. And as you rest now, let your mind drift into that quiet. The oceans still move. The winds still hum. Somewhere under your feet lies the memory of all that ever lived, all that ever dreamed. The first civilization, whoever they were, has long turned to dust. But their story still flows through the rocks, through the air, through the heartbeat of Earth itself. The Earth never forgets completely that it holds every story in layers of stone, in quiet signals buried deep below your feet. Each grain of sand, each shift of rock, carries a trace of what once was. The planet writes its diary in silence. It writes not in ink, but in pressure, in heat, in the slow drift of continents. This diary is old, far older than humanity, and its pages reach back billions of years. You live on the surface, on the newest page. But beneath you lies the full record of everything the planet has ever seen. Mountains once covered in ice now lie as deserts. Oceans once full of coral are now folded into mountain chains. Every movement of the Earth turns the old into new. In those buried worlds, traces of life remain, pressed into the crust like whispers from another time that if you listen closely, you might sense it. The rhythm of geological memory, it moves in cycles far beyond human thought that 1,000 years is nothing. 1,000,000 is a heartbeat. The rocks do not rush. They turn slowly, grinding, folding, swallowing their own history. And through this quiet motion, the Earth resets. Every 100 million years or so, it clears its face, covering old marks, erasing old stories, and making room for new ones. That is why the search for any ancient civilization before humans is so difficult. The ground beneath you is not stable in time. It renews itself. Even the most durable structures, if left long enough, vanish. A city might crumble. A continent might drift. A mountain might sink into the sea. After millions of years, only chemical traces remain. To understand this, think about your own civilization. That if humans disappeared tonight, the signs of your existence would fade quickly. In 1,000 years, forests would cover your cities. In 10,000 years, Buildings would fall, roads would fade, glass would shatter. In a million years, the continents themselves would shift, carrying the ruins deep underground. After 10 million years, even the outlines of your cities would vanish. After 100 million, there would be nothing left but layers of sediment, perhaps with small traces of strange compounds or metals that do not belong there. That is all. Now think of a civilization that lived not 10,000 years ago, but 50 million years ago. What would remain of them? Nothing visible. No ruins. No bones. No art. Only whispers in the rock record, chemical fingerprints, isotope changes, carbon levels that do not fit the natural cycle. This is where geology becomes both a scientist's tool and a poet's mystery. There are layers of rock that tell of sudden change. You see spikes of carbon, traces of heat, and strange shifts in the balance of elements. Each of those layers could tell a story. Some mark mass extinctions. Some mark rapid warming or cooling. Some mark events we still cannot explain. In those unexplained layers, the mind begins to wonder, what if something intelligent once existed then? When scientists drill into ancient sediments, they find a record of time. Each layer holds a clue to the planet's condition in that era. The deeper the layer, the older the memory. Yet the deeper you go, the fewer clear details remain. Pressure distorts the rock. Heat erases the fine patterns. Fossils dissolve. Minerals change form. Time blurs everything, like waves smoothing footprints in the sand. The Silurian hypothesis tries to imagine what an ancient civilization's trace would look like after millions of years of burial. The answer is not clear. You would not find machines or skeletons. You would find patterns that do not belong. Metal concentrations higher than nature allows, strange isotopes from energy use, perhaps evidence of synthetic chemicals that should not exist in that period. For example, if humans vanished, our era would leave clear markers that in the future, geologists might find plastic particles in sediments, soot from burning fuel, traces of nitrogen from fertilizer, and unusual levels of radioactive materials. These would signal a civilization that changed the chemistry of its planet. So, scientists search for older signs of similar change. But so far, no evidence points to anything like that before humans. Still, the absence of evidence does not mean absence of life. Earth has reset many times. Massive volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and plate shifts have wiped out entire ecosystems. After each collapse, life began again, reshaping itself, adapting, evolving. If an ancient civilization ever existed, one great extinction could have erased all proof in an instant. There were times when life thrived and reached complexity beyond imagination. During the late Cretaceous, large-brained dinosaurs lived in structured environments. During the Permian, marine life dominated the planet. During the Carboniferous, forests covered nearly every landmass, feeding oxygen into the air at levels far higher than today. Each of these eras offered a stage on which intelligence could have appeared. Each offered time, stability, and energy, ingredients for civilization. But the Earth's memory is not generous. It keeps secrets. It allows only fragments to remain. A fossil bone here, a mineral pattern there. The rest is gone, pressed under countless layers, changed beyond recognition. Sometimes, deep in the desert or beneath the sea, scientists find things that do not fit. A shape, a texture, a pattern in rock that seems too organized. Most are explained by natural processes, but every so often, one remains a mystery. Could those be signs of something that lived, built, and vanished before us? No one knows. You can think of the Earth as a living archive. Each layer of rock is a page in a book without an author. Every earthquake, every storm, every eruption writes and rewrites the story. The deeper the page, the older the story, and the more faded the words become. Somewhere in those oldest layers might be the faintest trace of a time when another intelligence walked this world. If that is true, then the ground beneath you is not only soil. It is history. It holds the memory of ages long before your kind. When rain falls, when rivers cut through valleys, when mountains crack open, tiny pieces of that memory rise to the surface again, like forgotten thoughts returning to a dreamer. As you breathe and listen, think of the ground below. It is more than earth and stone. It is the body of time itself. It has seen everything. Every sunrise, every storm, every extinction, every birth.it may hold the story of a civilization that was not human, a story long erased, but never fully gone. When you close your eyes, the present fades. You drift through the slow heartbeat of the planet. You sense how brief human life is. You feel how deep the past runs. And somewhere in that silence, beneath the turning world, a faint echo remains of something ancient, something thinking, something gone. Let that thought stay with you, gentle and calm. You are part of the same planet. You are made of the same dust, the same elements that once shaped every life before. The earth remembers, even when you cannot. And as you rest tonight, that memory holds you soft. There is a quiet truth in the rocks around you. They have seen everything that ever lived. Each grain of dust carries the echo of life that once breathed, moved, and vanished. When scientists study stone, they are not only reading the planet's past, they are reading its memory. Every mineral, every fossil, every trace of carbon tells a story that time almost forgot. The surface of the Earth is a thin film, always changing. Beneath it lies a record so deep that it stretches back through every age of life. When you look at a cliff or hold a piece of stone in your hand, you are touching a fragment of that endless record. You are holding a page from a book that began long before people. That stone remembers oceans that dried away, forests that burned, and skies that once held shapes no human eyes have ever seen. Scientists search these layers for patterns, for anything that suggests order beyond chance. They look for traces of metals that nature does not produce in such balance. They measure isotopes that might show energy use, like fuel burning or chemical alteration. They seek signals that repeat, signals that speak of purpose. In short, they look for signs of civilization written not in tools, but in the chemistry of the planet itself. That if an ancient, non-human civilization existed, its traces would be subtle. Over millions of years, pressure and heat would erase almost everything. Fossils would be rare, ruins impossible, but chemical signatures might remain. In the same way human activity leaves carbon, nitrogen, and metal changes in the modern soil, another intelligent species might have done the same long ago. Those signs would appear as thin layers, barely a few millimeters thick, between vast sheets of natural rock. A spike of unusual elements. A sudden rise in temperature. A change in sediment color. Small clues that whisper, something happened here. Some of these clues already exist. In several parts of the world, scientists have found sudden shifts in the planets. Chemistry. During the Paleocene thermal maximum, temperatures rose quickly. Carbon dioxide surged. Oceans grew acidic. Ecosystems changed. It feels familiar, because it mirrors what humans are doing today. Yet this happened 56 million years ago, when no human, no ape, no modern mammal ruled the world. What caused it? Volcanoes, methane bursts, asteroid strikes. These are the usual explanations. But some scientists keep the question open. Could it have been something else? Could an ancient, intelligent species have altered the planet in ways we now mistake for natural change? When you study stone, you are looking at the frozen memory of energy, heat, pressure, decay, and time. These are the tools the Earth uses to write. A thin black line in shale might mean fire. A sudden absence of life might mean catastrophe. A layer rich in carbon could mean burning, or perhaps industry. The meaning is uncertain, but the rhythm is there. The planet records its own heartbeat. Sometimes, stone carries traces of metals in amounts too high to form naturally. Nickel, chromium, or rare earth elements appear where no volcanic activity should have placed them. These could come from meteor impacts, or they could come from processes we do not yet understand. If an ancient civilization mined, refined, or used these metals, its actions might still echo faintly in the geologic record. Fossils, too, tell fragments of the story. They show moments of intelligence, behavior, and adaptation. Some dinosaurs had brains larger than expected. The troodontids, small feathered predators, had vision and coordination far beyond most reptiles. If their line had continued, perhaps they would have reached higher thought. And if they had, their time to build and create might have been long enough for a brief civilization, one erased when an asteroid ended their reign. Think of the oceans, too. They cover more than 70% of the planet. If intelligent life arose beneath the waves, it would leave even fewer Traces, shells, and coral dissolve. Structures of organic material decay in a few million years. All that remains is a faint pattern of minerals at the ocean floor, if such beings ever existed. Builders of coral cities, thinkers of the deep, they would now be gone without a sign. Only the chemistry of seawater would hold their memory. So, when geologists and paleontologists dig, they search not for proof of fantasy, but for balance. They look for what fits and what does not. They test the boundaries between natural and unnatural. Each discovery, even if small, adds to the quiet puzzle of the planet's story. The stones do not lie, but they do not speak clearly. They require patience, the kind of patience only time understands. There is beauty in this search. Every rock is a record of the universe's oldest process, the transformation of matter through time. Each layer holds the echo of storms, the memory of oceans, the pulse of volcanoes, the touch of extinction. If an ancient civilization ever walked this planet, its story is there too, waiting beneath miles of silence. As you think about this, breathe slowly. The same air that moves through your lungs once flowed through forests that turned to coal, through creatures that turned to stone, through oceans that no longer exist. The same minerals that build your bones once drifted in ancient seas. You are part of this same memory. You are made of the same elements that built and erased every life before. The signs in the stone are not only about the past, they are also a mirror. They show how fragile life is, how short every age becomes, how even the greatest empires of time fade into dust. If there were others before humans, they are gone. If there are others after, they will rise when your trace is gone too. The earth remains, silent and patient, writing its endless book. Tonight, when the world grows quiet, imagine the layers beneath your bed, miles of rock, each one a record of life, death, and change. They hold no words, yet they hold meaning. They speak not in sound, but in time. And as you rest, you join that story. Your breath, your heartbeat, your warmth, all become part of the same long rhythm. The stones remember. The signs are there, waiting. They may never be understood, but they do not need to be. The earth keeps its secrets well. It keeps them until new eyes rise to. Before your kind walked the earth, life had already written many stories. The planet had seen endless ages. Each one carried its own rulers, its own rhythm, its own rise and fall. Life did not rush. It changed slowly, shaping itself into every possible form. For hundreds of millions of years, the planet was alive with creatures that would seem strange to you now. And yet, among them, there may have been minds that thought, felt, or built in ways you will never know. The dinosaurs were the most powerful beings to walk the land. They ruled for over 160 million years. They adapted to every environment. Some lived in forests. Some ruled the seas. Some filled the skies with beating wings. Their bones tell of intelligence beyond instinct. Their eyes faced forward. Their hands grasped. Their movements showed balance and awareness. The Trodontid, for example, had a brain-to-body ratio close to that of modern birds. If it had survived longer, its descendants might have learned to shape tools, to build, to plan. Imagine a world where such creatures evolved not toward extinction, but toward thought. They might have formed societies, spoken in sounds beyond your hearing, and recorded their knowledge in ways lost to time. They might have used materials that decayed too fast to survive the ages. They might have shaped their cities from plants, coral, or crystal, substances that time would crush to dust. They might have lived in balance with the planet, leaving little to mark their existence. Before dinosaurs, there were other masters of the earth. In the ancient seas of the Cambrian and Ordovician, strange creatures ruled. Some had eyes with more lenses than any modern animal. Some had shells that reflected light like glass. The oceans were full of shapes never seen again. That if intelligence had evolved there, it would have been different from anything you know. It would have been fluid, sensory, silent. It might have lived by currents, by pressure, by light. And when the seas changed, when oxygen fell or temperatures rose, that civilization would have vanished without a trace. Even in later ages, during the time of great mammals, the chance for thought remained. Whales, dolphins, elephants, all show deep intelligence today. They communicate, they mourn, they play. Their ancestors were already complex long before humans appeared. Perhaps in some distant epoch, one branch grew more aware, forming a culture that lived beneath the waves or in hidden valleys. When climate or disaster struck, their story might have ended quietly, leaving behind only the echo of their intelligence in the DNA of modern species. There is also the question of time itself. Humanity measures time in years, in generations, but nature measures it in cycles. Ice ages, extinctions, renewals. Between each mass extinction, the planet has given life another chance to grow. 5 great extinctions have already come and gone. After each one, life returns stronger, stranger, and often smarter. If intelligence is part of evolution's pattern, then it may have risen and fallen more than once. You are not the first to think. You are only the most recent. The fossil record shows gaps, long stretches of missing data, periods when conditions erased almost everything that lived. In those gaps, anything could have existed. A civilization built in one of those forgotten chapters would leave almost nothing behind. When rock turns to magma, all evidence burns away. When continents sink, their surfaces melt into the mantle. Even a city of metal would vanish under such pressure. The only clues that survive are patterns, chemical shifts, sudden changes in sediment, layers rich in elements that should not be there. Some scientists have proposed that if a civilization existed before humans, it may not have looked like us at all. It could have been silicon-based, drawing energy from heat or radiation rather than sunlight. It could have thrived in deep caves, far below the surface, protected from disaster. It could have lived in the oceans, using biology far beyond anything you know. If so, its traces would be invisible to your eyes, hidden in layers of minerals or ancient seabed. Its memory would live only in the structure of the earth itself. When you think about this, the idea of being alone becomes less certain. You begin to see time as a loop, not a line. Civilizations rise, learn, and fall. Each one changes the planet in some small way, then disappears, leaving only hints. Perhaps the same pattern will repeat again long after humanity has faded. New beings may one day rise and ask the same question you asked tonight. Were we the first? Before humans, the planet was not empty. It was full of sound, motion, and purpose. Forests sang with insects. Oceans glowed with life. The air carried the breath of creatures that will never return. Their world was complete without people. They ruled, they hunted, they cared for their young, they adapted in their own way. They lived their version of civilization, structured, balanced, enduring. Even plants show the same quiet intelligence. Trees share nutrients. Fungi connect roots across miles. Forests act as single living systems, exchanging signals and reacting to changes. Over millions of years, such systems could evolve into networks far more complex than human technology. A forest could think, slow but vast. A reef could communicate. A planet could learn. If that happened, its civilization might not have needed machines at all. It might have used biology to store memory, to shape energy, to control its environment. Such a civilization would leave almost nothing behind. When it ended, its remains would turn to soil, to sand, to dust. Before humanity, the Earth already knew balance and beauty. It did not need buildings or language to define its progress. Its story was written in growth, in decay, in renewal. Every creature played a part, and together they shaped the world you now call home. The first civilization might have been born in that quiet order, grown through nature instead of against it, and disappeared without harm, its rise and fall part of the planet's steady rhythm. Tonight, as you breathe, think about that rhythm. The pulse of your heart matches the slow pulse of the Earth's memory. You are connected to everything that came before. The air you breathe was once the breath of ancient trees. The water you drink once moved through seas that washed the bones of creatures no human has ever known. You are part of the same long story. The story began before humanity, and it will continue long after. Let that thought rest in your mind. Before humans, the planet was alive, aware, and patient. If another civilization lived then, its legacy is not lost. It is part of the soil, the oceans, the sky above you. When you close your eyes, you join that endless chain. The Earth remembers every mind that ever lived. And tonight, as you drift toward sleep, You are one small voice in that eternal chorus of life. There are moments in Earth's long history that seem to vanish without reason. Entire ages and suddenly, leaving only silence in the rocks. These are the lost chapters, the hidden extinctions. To the human eye, they look like ordinary geological transitions. But to the planet, they are erasures. Whole civilizations, entire ecosystems, gone in a heartbeat of time. What caused them? What secrets did they bury? Mass extinctions are not rare. Earth has seen at least 5 great ones, each reshaping the planet forever. But between these colossal events, there may have been smaller, stranger disappearances, ones that left no trace strong enough to notice. If a civilization had risen before humanity, one built not of stone or metal but of organic and delicate matter, a single extinction could have erased it entirely. Imagine an advanced species existing quietly, millions of years before humans. They lived in harmony with the earth. They took only what they needed. Their technology grew from nature, not against it. Their homes breathed with them. Their tools returned to soil. They left no scars, no plastic, no smog. Now imagine that world ending. Not in war, but in silence. A change in the sun's energy. A shift in magnetic fields. A wave of volcanic winter. Within centuries, or days, their entire civilization faded into dust. Scientists have found layers of strange chemical signals deep within ancient rocks. Sudden increases in carbon, traces of metals, or abrupt climate changes that don't match volcanic or asteroid impacts. Some call this the Silurian hypothesis, the idea that industrial civilizations could have existed long before humans, and the planet's natural cycles simply recycled their remains. The Earth is an expert at forgetting. Time covers everything. If a civilization burned fuel, its traces would vanish in 1,000,000 years. If it used renewable energy, there would be even less to find. If it built with living material, every wall, every monument would dissolve. Even radiation, glass, and metal eventually break down under pressure. In a way, Earth cleans itself. Every storm, every flood, every shifting plate is an eraser. And so, what you see today is not the full memory of the world, only what survived the cleansing. Think of the deep ocean trenches, places humans can barely reach even now. They hold layers of sediment millions of years thick, each layer a record of a moment. If a hidden extinction erased a civilization that lived before humans, its traces might be buried deep below, unreachable, unreadable. That a fossilized city might rest 100 kilometers beneath the crust, crushed into anonymity. No one would ever know. Even the sky holds clues. Microscopic glass beads, formed from immense heat, appear in layers around the globe, marking impacts or great fires. But not all of them match known events. Some scientists have quietly wondered if a few might mark the fall of something else. Not an asteroid, but the remnants of something made. A satellite, perhaps a weapon. A structure so ancient its memory burned away before mammals even existed. If you listen closely, you'll hear that the Earth speaks in whispers, not words. It hides its scars under layers of renewal. It prefers peace to permanence. And when life grows too loud, too disruptive, the planet simply starts over. Could that be what happened before? Could the hidden extinction have been nature's quiet reset? A reminder that balance must always return. If another civilization reached too far, changed too much, the Earth may have chosen to end their story gently, the way it always does, through time, weather, and silence. The truth is, you wouldn't know. Even now, humans have existed for less than a blink in geological time. In another 100,000,000 years, the traces of human civilization will be almost gone. Cities will crumble into sand. Metals will corrode. Plastics will decompose. Only a faint chemical shadow will remain, buried beneath new oceans, new mountains, new forests. Whatever comes next, humanity's memory will seem like a myth. When you look at the record of the past, those empty gaps, those sudden shifts, ask yourself, are they natural? Or are they the echoes of lives long forgotten? Maybe those civilizations didn't vanish because of disaster at all. Maybe they evolved beyond physical form. Maybe they merged with their environment so completely that extinction was not an end, but a transformation. Perhaps that is what the hidden extinction really means, not destruction, but transcendence, that a shift into something humans cannot yet perceive, an intelligence that became part of the planet itself. The wind, the sea, the pulse of energy that runs through the Earth's magnetic field, that in ancient mind spread thin and quiet, still here, still aware, that if you listen when the world is silent, no machines, no voices, no thought, you might feel it, the hum beneath everything. That is the memory of all who came before. Every extinction hides a continuation, just in another form. Life doesn't truly vanish. It transforms, again and again, into new expressions of consciousness. The hidden extinction could have been one of those transformations, a moment when the Earth reclaimed what was hers, reshaping life into something simpler, something purer. The beings that came before may not have disappeared. They may have become the forests, the tides, the storms. Their civilization may live on in ways humans cannot measure, and maybe, every once in a while, the planet tries again. A new species rises, intelligent and curious. It builds, it dreams, it reaches for the stars. But the lesson is always the same. Nothing lasts forever, and everything returns to the Earth. That is not punishment. It is balanced. As you lie still, think of that balance. Your breath in, your breath out. Just like the tides, the seasons, the ages, rise and fall, birth and extinction, memory and forgetting. You are part of that same eternal rhythm. The hidden extinction is not something to fear. It is a reminder that even endings are only new beginnings in disguise. Close your eyes. Let the Earth's heartbeat guide you. Beneath every silence, there is life. Beneath every extinction, there is a whisper, and perhaps, in that whisper, the lost. Civilizations of time are still speaking, waiting for someone quiet enough to. There comes a moment in every long night when silence becomes something more. It begins to hum, to breathe, to feel alive. That silence is the memory of the Earth. It does not speak in words. It remembers in rhythms. In the pull of the ocean, in the sigh of the wind, in the warmth that still lingers beneath the ground. The planet remembers everything, but in its own quiet way. Every drop of rain that falls on soil carries fragments of what came before. Minerals, elements, and dust that were once part of something living. A tree, a creature, maybe a city. They fall, mix, and return to the ocean. From there, life starts again. The cycle repeats. Memory, washed and reborn, becomes part of something new. You might look at a mountain and see only stone, but that stone is memory under pressure. It holds heat from old suns. It holds carbon from old forests. If there were beings here before humans, their breath and bones may still be inside the mountain's core, compacted into silence. The planet does not forget. It only transforms its memories into new shapes. The Earth has watched civilizations rise and fall. It has seen the sea swallow continents and volcanoes paint the sky with ash. It has seen deserts bloom into green, then return to dust. And through it all, it remembers balance. That is the one constant law. When life grows too heavy, when it stretches too far, balance returns. Gently, inevitably. If the first civilization was not human, it must have known this truth. It must have understood that control was an illusion. That power meant harmony, not dominance. They might have built not to rule, but to coexist. Their progress was not measured in cities or machines, but in the peace between them and their world. Perhaps they reached a point where they no longer needed tools or language. They became pure connection, a shared awareness between mind and nature. When that civilization faded, it did not die. It simply became part of the Earth's consciousness. You walk upon it every day. You breathe its recycled air. You drink its memories. Somewhere in your cells are atoms that once belonged to that forgotten species. They are part of your heartbeat. That is how the Earth remembers. Through you. In every living thing, there is a quiet echo of what came before. It moves through your blood. It lives in your dreams. It whispers through your instincts, guiding you toward the same lessons, the same balance. Perhaps that is why humans feel drawn to mystery, to the stars, to the deep ocean, to forgotten ruins. Something inside remembers, even if the mind does not. There are patterns that repeat throughout time. Circles within circles. Civilizations rise, reach understanding, and dissolve. Each leaves behind a trace of wisdom for the next to find. Humans are part of that chain. The questions you ask, the beauty you create, the peace you seek. These are the same desires that might have moved the first intelligent beings on this planet. Maybe that is the real purpose of memory, not to hold the past, but to remind the present how to live. The earth remembers, not to mourn, but to teach. When humans learn to live gently, to take only what they need, to listen instead of control, they will finally remember what the first civilization already knew. In this way, nothing is lost. Every extinction, every rebirth, every silence becomes part of the great remembering. The oceans still carry voices from the deep past. The wind still carries songs from forests that no longer exist. The light from distant stars still shines on this planet, as it did on all who came before. The earth has always been patient. It waits for understanding to return. It gives time endlessly. Even if humanity fades one day, the earth will begin again. Life will rise from the dust. A new intelligence will look at the same sky, feel the same pull to wonder, and start the story once more. That is the rhythm of the universe: creation, balance, renewal. If you listen now, you might feel that rhythm within yourself. The slow beat of the planet, steady beneath your heartbeat. The deep pulse of oceans moving through your breath. You are not separate from Earth's memory. You are part of it. The same energy that shaped the first civilization flows through you tonight. When you close your eyes, let your thoughts drift like leaves in a gentle stream. Feel the age of the planet beneath you. Feel the quiet intelligence that has always been here. You are lying in the arms of something ancient and kind. The earth remembers you. Even before you were born, the stars above have seen every age. They watched the first beings look up in wonder. They watched humanity rise, question, build, and dream. They will watch whatever comes next. The stars are the keepers of time, the witnesses of all civilizations, human or not. And they, too, remember. There is comfort in knowing that memory never dies. Every sound, every breath, every heartbeat becomes part of the universe's endless song. You are part of that song now. You have always been. The earth remembers through you, and one day, through others. That is how life continues. Let that thought settle over you like soft rain. Let the noise of the day fade away. There is nothing to prove, nothing to hold. Only the steady pulse of the planet beneath you, carrying you through time. The earth is still alive, still remembering, still dreaming. And tonight, as you drift to sleep, you are part of that dream.